Hey everybody, Max here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Cobra Ninja Slice and Dice. If I'm not mistaken, these two guys may actually be the first figures that have come with the Ninja Force logo on it. So tell me if I'm wrong. As far as I know, these are the only guys. We've gotten quite a few ninjas in the classified line, but I think the only other one that is a part of the original OG Ninja Force back in the early 90s is Nunchuck, which I can never look at the same way again thanks to my friend Ronnie Trickshot. Ronnie, if you're out there, thanks, my friend. So we're going to take a look at these figures. Really cool set. Comes with a lot. This is a Hasbro Pulse exclusive. I know some people are struggling to kind of get theirs because of the shipping and the shipping service that's being used. Mine came fairly quickly, so I'm maybe one of the lucky ones. And those that have not gotten your set yet, keep the faith. I hope that you will get it. So hang in there, guys. But until then, I hope you can enjoy this video. The package is kind of same kind of dress that we've been seeing for a while. 160 in the line. Pretty cool artwork here. Hopefully generated by a human and not a artificial intelligence. And then, oh, I just knocked him down. Come on, man. On your feet. So, and then has the nice little diorama shot in the back. So has some photos here on the side or on the right there, kind of showing how just some of the traits and everything. So some of the things it comes with, and then the QR code that of course goes nowhere, and hopefully someday it does, but I will not hold my breath. So that is the package. Very nice. And let's get into the accessories like we normally do before we get into the figure. And hopefully Mr. Slice here will stay on his feet. I've actually been having some trouble with this guy, just trying to get him posed, and I'll explain why. So let's go with Slice first. He's the guy on the left, if you're not quite familiar with these guys. Now, they came out, the originals came out around the time that I was, or a few years after I was out of the original line, so I was not familiar with these guys. I, of course, had several ninja characters, you know, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes and all that. Jinx, there were several others. But the whole Ninja Force thing came later, and then I was also not reading the comic at the time. But I've since reread the whole original Marvel run, thanks to the compendiums, and that's been great. And these guys were kind of in the last couple of years, introduced in the last couple of years, and I think they were also in the Deke cartoon as well. And so I really had no connection to these guys when I purchased these, but kind of a sucker for ninjas, and they did look cool. Sometimes I like, you know, I didn't have this and that, but I buy it anyway because it just seems pretty cool. It looks like they really put a lot of attention to detail into this thing, and so you know, kind of diving into the accessories, we get this basket hat here, and with some blades on the end, so silver paint, and it's depicted as being on four in the description for Slice, but it can fit on sort of on the unmasked dice head. I mean, I'm assuming this is meant for dice, but it's not actually. This unmasked head is not given any kind of description or indication of who it belongs to, but tell me, I don't recall ever seeing either of these characters with their masks off in the comic. If that happened in the cartoon, let me know. So I'm not really sure who that belongs to, but this basket has a handhold, so they can kind of use this as a weapon because it's got these nice silver painted blades on here. But and it has a molded plastic. This is not real thread, so this is plastic cordage, I guess. And you know, it will fit fairly well once you get the the strap over the head, but you know, I'm shaking it. It will, you know, it doesn't exactly snap in place in any way. It just kind of you just kind of have to force it down because of this kind of U-shaped section here. So, I mean, that is. Let me see if you can. Hopefully, you can see that. Okay, let me change the light. And so you've got that. It doesn't fit as snug and as kind of it's just not, it's not well fitted. So I'm guessing this is going to be like a lot of Cobra helmets and that I'm having trouble with. I always use, I kind of have to go back to the handy tack to get some of the stuff to stay on. So it will fit sort of, but anyway, it looks cool. I like the detail is great. So there are some display options there. It comes with this kind of cloak, I guess, scarf, what have you. And this is fairly flimsy, not flimsy, thin plastic that is molded to look like, you know, like old fabric. And so just kind of brown, but there is something of a wash in it, I think. And then silver and black on this clasp here. And then of course that can fit over the, and it fits on both of them. I've kind of been experimenting around, seeing which one it fits better on. I kind of feel like it works better with dice here, but it works either way. But that's another accessory that kind of can go for either one of them. But the specific accessories for dice here, or sorry, slice here, are this what they refer to as a scorpion mask. And I got to say, I really dig this thing. This has got some really good paint, really good detail, and has molded um, tassels here, you know, ties. And it's a little longer than I would want it to be, but thankfully it doesn't get in the way of anything necessarily. But the mask itself has kind of got this silver with a gold, little kind of a gold wash over it. It's a little like gold highlights. It kind of just depends on the angle of the light. You see kind of silver, gold, but it looks really cool. And if you were a Stargate SG-1 fan, the mask reminds me of the super soldiers in like season 6, 7, 8, somewhere around in there. And it took me a second to for me to remember what this mask looked like, but it's something from Stargate SG-1. So if you're into that franchise, hey, give me a shout out in the comments. I missed that franchise too. So let's see, we talked about the hands. So he's got trigger finger hands, even though he doesn't come with any guns. He has the chopping hands, or perhaps gesturing hands. And these are probably Storm Shadows, or maybe Kamakura, or not Kamakura, or no, Nunchuck probably. And then we have 2 fists as well. So they black plastic. And he comes with, actually this is on the figure in the package. So this little backpack that fits on in the hole there, and you can fit his hook swords in here. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And let's see, he comes with these, and if I say this wrong, please forgive me. Qatar knives, and they are interesting in the sense of what their shape and everything, but there's no extra highlights, no extra detailing, no extra paint or anything like that. It's just kind of silver, all silver plastic, and it just seems kind of muted, kind of weak in my opinion. So no paint on the handle. He holds them very well, and they do look cool, don't get me wrong, but they just, you know, they didn't, I feel like they kind of skimped on the accessories for Slice here. And another case in point is his 2 knives, which I think might be, I mean, they kind of look like butterfly knives, or butterfly swords, I should say. At least the handles kind of remind me of that, but these are just silver plastic. Now, are they flimsy or gummy? Nope, not at all. They're fairly solid, and he holds them fairly well as well. However, there's just not a lot of detail, not a lot of character to them. The shape is cool, but I'm thinking I might try to touch these up and add a little, you know, detailing on the handle here and there. So Slice kind of gets the short end of the stick, or short end of the short sword. And in terms of accessories, the hook sword turned out okay. I mean, you get at least a little paint on the handle here, so you get some red, which that's kind of a molded tassel, and then the black on the handle. And these are flexible, but not flimsy. They're not gummy, which is great, and fairly accurate too. So the detailing and the shape and everything, that's kind of what these things look like. And and he holds them fairly well, as you saw. And so I think they are supposed to be, at least in the promo shots, they are depicted as being stored like that. So hopefully you saw that as you I put them in kind of this way and then kind of rotate them around so that they will stay snug. So that is great. Any other way and they're just kind of loose and they don't stay in position very well. But so you got that, and that just, and this actually stays in fairly well too. I kind of have a kind of a beef with the backpacks, the pegs and everything. They don't always stay in place and just drives me up a wall sometimes. But this one, pretty good retention, I would say. So he looks cool like that. Oh, and he also comes with this little sigh here that does not, this is a molded on or glued on gauntlet. It's not a part of the actual wrist, but it's got this molded on sheath here. And I had to kind of squirt a little piece of little bit of a Mod Podge up in here to kind of give it a little more purchase because it does not stay very well. It several times as I was playing around, the side fell out. So just be aware of that. And it's also kind of, it's very short side. I don't know if that's actually a thing. And it's some black. All it has is black on the handle, but there is some molding there, so that's nice. But yeah, there's no extra paint or anything like that. It just looks like the silver, and you can silver plastic, and you can kind of see mold lines here and there, which is a little bummer, a little bit of a bummer. Yeah, I don't like, if you watched any of my videos, you'll probably hear me talking about that. I don't like pour lines. It just makes it look cheap. And last but not least, he comes with this little sash with kunai daggers on there, and they are fairly flimsy, flexible, because they are pointy, and this is actually meant for children, right? Yeah, kids are supposed to be playing with this. And anything, if these had denser plastic, kids could probably get hurt. So probably the same reason. This is actually not flimsy at all, but it's very blunted. So anyway, so that goes back in there. So Mr. Dice has I have him outfitted with his kind of faceless flat mask and everything. Kind of looks like a fencing mask. I did some fencing for a little while, and it's a lot of fun. If you've never tried it, I highly recommend it. And so they've actually, I like this quite a bit in the sense that there's some texturing to it. You can't really tell. I don't know if that's just painted on texture or if it's molded, because I can't quite feel anything. But hopefully you can see that on camera. There's just kind of this cross hatching here that reminds me of a fencing mask. So there's really good detail all the way around. Also has the ties in the back here, and that looks great. And then but I'm also kind of torn. This one, there's so much detail here. This one is more traditional to the original character, which I think was just kind of flat. No, I take that back. In the comic, it kind of had that cross hatching, like like a fencing mask. And I don't know what is significant about this. Maybe in the IDW run or something like that, he's depicted with this. I like them both. So you have a lot of display options. But this is kind of what he looked like originally. And let's see, what else do we have here? He is mostly, kind of top to bottom, he is mostly Kamakura, not Kamakura, Nunchuck. I keep wanting to say Nunchuck, which is mostly Storm Shadow. So these are Nunchuck's arms, and originally Storm Shadow's torso, legs, but we have some new boots here. And I quite like the red and the black. Now the original figure kind of had like black dots or stars or something like that, but they just went with like just a flat black, and I quite like how it turned out. It's a very good paint job. And the head here, he does not have much range of motion, and he's on a floating neck, and he turns his head side to side fairly well, but going up and down, there's not much. So it's got the ball hinge, which I'm not really a big fan of. So that I'm probably going to have to cut out some material like I do with practically every figure that has that particular neck system. But that is that. let's go into the, see if we can get a T-pose, which is kind of hard because of these shoulder pauldrons. And another shout out to my friend Ronnie Trickshot. He likes it when I say that. So, you know, hopefully, hopefully he hears this. So shoulder pauldrons, which black plastic and silver paint, but it does limit the range of motion because they are glued onto the upper arm at the bicep. So you don't get, I mean, you get some pretty good range of motion on the bicep, and you can kind of do that and get something of a T-pose, kind of like a faux T-pose, but and it is flexible. The plastic of the pauldrons is actually fairly flexible, so you can kind of get a T-pose. It's kind of cheating, but you can't just get a straight up and down because of that. And I don't want to break anything. So he has pinless elbows and knees, and he goes back that far. Yeah, right about there. And on the left side, as I said before, the gauntlet is, or the sheath and the gauntlet here, it's actually in this red strapping, that's actually all glued on. It does not come off. At least I haven't tried to pull it off. I think there is some flexibility to it. So they just kind of took nunchucks arms and molded this extra piece and glued it on. So, but there's some great detail all the way around on that. And then same way over here, gauntlet with no sheath, and that kind of gives you an idea of what is underneath that sheath. So silver paint, black, and vertical hinges on these wrists that go all the way around, and the gauntlets do not hinder the wrists, which is fine, which is great. And butterfly joints that are actually pretty good. So if you have Storm Shadow or Storm Shadow V1 or Nunchuck or Kamakura, which also has the same torso, this is really good butterfly joint. So I'm quite pleased with that. And let's see, he's got a good ab crunch, goes forward that far and back that far. And then he has this waist attachment, this waist piece. I don't know if this is supposed to be like this overlay. It's an overlay clearly, but I don't know if it's supposed to be, representative of the gi itself, or if it's like really just an actual overlay, like something he's just tied around his waist. But for some reason it has all this red rope that is, complete like molded plastic here. It comes, hangs down a little further. It doesn't really hinder the legs much, thankfully. You can kind of push this up a little bit, but I think it's supposed to be kind of closer down on the waist. So just kind of keep that in mind. And let's get the arms out of the way. Move this up a little bit. Oh, the waist is pretty good. Waist swivel is pretty good. I've said this before in other videos. It seems like these newer figures, the waist swivel has gotten a lot better on the classified line, and something that I'm really appreciative of. And let's see, let's go to the legs. It does have drop down hips, and these are definitely Storm Shadow V1's legs, and he gets pretty good splits. But something that I have noticed with the right leg, every time this leg is used, there's a little extra material up inside the hip joint that I always have to kind of sand down, because trying to get it to do the splits, the material kind of rubs on the hip joint in here, the drop down hip joint right there, and I've seen it kind of distress the plastic a little bit. So it's just a little less fluid, it's a little harder to move, and I'm having some trouble. There is a little problem with the right leg at the thigh swivel. It's a little loose right here. It's just much more loose than any classified figure I've ever had. So I've had some trouble having it keep its position. So I was trying to do in the promo shots some running shots, and it just won't support the weight. I try to kind of have him, I've had him with this leg, and he just kind of rotates to the side. So that is a problem that I'm going to have to take this leg off and kind of detach and take some things apart and see if there's anything that I can improve upon or adapt or alter or what have you to kind of address that issue. You know how I love my Mod Podge, so I may have to do a little more, just kind of stiffen things up right there. But this overlay is actually really good. I mean, it's pretty good. The red paint is a little uneven, but I'm that doesn't really bother me. And kind of in my own head canon, that's kind of I kind of feel like that's just it's just dirty from use or something. But I do kind of wonder what the usage would be. So, but all the way around, and then we have some more tabs here, more just long length long length of belt here. So that may these may get trimmed down. I may trim those down at some point. But so drop down hips, kicks forward really far, way past 90 degrees. So if you have Storm Shadow's V1, you know what I'm talking about. That was actually one of my very first classified figures. My brother gave me a few for my birthday that year, and about 2 years ago. And Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, and Outback were gifts that he gave me, and that's what got me into this line. So shout out to my brother for getting me addicted. And let's see, the right leg having some, like I said, the drop down hips. The right leg's just giving me some grief. Doesn't seem to be kicking as far up as the left does for some reason, but it's a little stiff on that side. So, and knee joints kind of go back this far, kick really good. Like far on the right, and like I said, this is really kind of loose in at that thigh cut. And when I try to move the leg, there's a gap appears. I know you probably can't see it very well, but it just kind of opens up a gap. And I've never had that happen much, if ever, on a classified figure. Marvel Legends, yeah, it happens all the time, which is why I don't collect Marvel Legends much anymore. Kind of feel like the quality's gone down some. So as long as the quality stays decent on the Joes, I will stick with them. But we got the thigh swivel and really cool boots, I have to say. And the feet are the same as Storm Shadow V1, and which we've seen before, but really good texturing all the way around on all these feet. And of course, the feet actually have really good range of motion. You think, looking at it, you think it might not, but let's see if we can get this. Will it go up any higher? No, that's about it. The right leg, or the right boot cut, also feels a little loose. So yeah, this leg's going to get some attention from me, and see if I can't improve upon it. But up and down, pretty good, side to side, really good on Mr. Dice here. So Dice, Mr. Slice, I'm sorry. Gosh, I don't know what's wrong with me, guys. Sorry about that. I do kind of feel like maybe Larry Hama, if he's the one who named these characters, I kind of feel like, as cool as they look, Slice and Dice just seems like, I don't know, like they just weren't creative that day. Yes, it rhymes, but for some tough as nails ninjas, that just always kind of struck me as kind of odd names for them. So don't hate me if you love those names. This is just my opinion. So going on to Dice, we've got his two battle axes, which the Dice clearly got the lion's share of attention out of this two-pack, especially with regards to the accessories. So we got some molded black and then silver paint on this really awesome battle axe, and dragons etched into or molded into the face of both on both sides, and then you have the spear point and the red of the tassel, and they are very sturdy. I mean, there's some flexibility to it, but not gummy at all, which is great. And then he has his bow staff here, and his bladed bow staff, which is a little on the warp side, not much, but nothing a hot bath wouldn't cure. So you can probably see a little bit, and it's flexible but not flimsy either. It also is black plastic with some red paint and silver paint as well. So really good etching and detail, tasseling on the handles and everything. So really cool. I'm not really sure what these three prongs here are, if it's just like meant to stand up straight. Nope, guess not. So I've showed it comes with his traditional head portrait, but then he comes with this unmasked with the scar over the, from the left eye to the right side of his face. Kind of, in a way, I don't know, if I kind of squint my eyes a little bit, I kind of get a little bit of a young Larry Hama. So I'm wondering if they kind of base this head sculpt on Larry. Maybe not. Maybe you see somebody different. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. But very cool. Turned out very well. I like that. If I don't use him on dice, I might put him on a different Joe figure if it fits. So, and then kind of the standout is this dragon mask that turned out really well, and which looks like it was light blue plastic, painted red, silver eyes, silver teeth, silver eyes, silver headdress here, and turned out very well. I have to say, whoever designed this did a fantastic job. But I don't know if this was actually ever seen in a cartoon. I don't recall seeing it in the comic either, so it's cool nonetheless. Also comes with trigger hands, and we have our chopping hands, left and right. And I don't think we've seen these either. These may be new. And then two fists. Okay. And let's see, that is it in terms of accessories. So in a way, Slice gets most of the weapons. He gets most of the head sculpts. So let's see. And I don't really care for this one. I got to say, I've never been a big fan of this look. I think it may just be this overbite with the teeth. I think if the teeth weren't there, maybe I would like it a little better. It's kind of like it looks really cool from here up, you know, like from the nose up, and then the kind of open face with these straps or whatever these are. I just don't. It just doesn't look right to me. So not my favorite. Not my favorite. And let's see. Also has the disc hinge or the ball hinge. He looks down that far, looks up that far. Also has the long tails for the straps and everything. So you got that. The one thing that I don't really care for this figure is the fact that the butterfly joint, the shoulders, you know, these little flares. I don't know, what do you call these? They're not exactly pauldrons, but maybe they are. That is the butterfly joint. So it makes it difficult to bring the arm all the way around because the plastic is actually pretty stiff right here. So you're kind of out of luck if you want to get him in his with his hands like completely, you know, straight up and down. So the first thing that popped into my mind is I'm going to take an X-Acto knife and cut that off completely, and or at least right in there, and kind of take that, just kind of remove that, because if you look at the original figure, it doesn't really have these flares that come out like that. It doesn't have these attachments or these extensions here. Does it look cool? Yeah, but it hinders it hinders movement. It hinders the articulation. So I don't know. Like again, there's just some design, certain figures that just I'm scratching my head over why they designed it that way. It's like, do you not realize that you're hindering the articulation by doing this? So it's like somebody is just designing this to make it look cool, but not really, it seems like not really caring that it is going to hinder articulation or not. So to me, it was the original figure was just kind of the arms were just straight, flush. You know, there was nothing, maybe a little something kind of came up, but instead they designed it this way, so which isn't really in keeping. And like I said, I'm not really a purist when it comes to this figure. Never had them. I don't really have much of a connection with them, so I'm not exactly complaining. I'm just saying I just wonder why they did this design choice. They didn't have to. It didn't look like the original. And if they had been more in keeping with the original design, the butterfly joint would be much better than what it is now. Because even if you were to take the arms out, which I'm going to try and snip the peg, I don't think you're going to get much range of motion right here, improvement. But then you're also not going to be able to, you know, get the arms all the way up. So yeah, I mean, it gets a good T-pose without a doubt, and has good range of motion at the bicep. And here's the left, you know, the left arm, pinless arms, which I think these may be either quick kicks or copperheads, maybe both. And they're good. They're good arms. Don't get me wrong. They're great. And on the right side, you've got a little scale piece of armor on the bicep, but not on the left arm. But you do get these detachable little gauntlets on both hands, so these are removable, so that's great. So if you wanted to just completely have him bare armed, you can do that. I'm not sure what torso this may be an original torso. I don't recognize it, and there's a really good overlay here that fits very snugly and doesn't really hinder the ab crunch hardly at all. So that's great. So he kind of bends forward that far and then goes back that far. So yeah, the strapping is very well crafted, well designed. Some red paint, silver, and then what looks like grenades. Maybe grenades, smoke grenades perhaps, and then maybe some kind of cartridge. He has trigger fingers, but he has hands, but he doesn't come with any triggers. Doesn't come with any firearms. But hey, I've got plenty. Let's see, and the waist swivel, overlay at the waist kind of gets in the way, but not much. So pretty good waist swivel there. I do quite like. I didn't think I would like this overlay here. Because I definitely didn't like the one that came with the Storm Shadow V2. It was just too thick, and that was what I was worried about here. This is actually perfect thickness. It's very flexible, does not hinder anything, and it has really good texture, really good design work, some really good paint work, silver and red. We're seeing a theme here, and pouches and purple. So he's just aesthetically, his body and everything, and his legs, his gi here looks really great. And I don't know the practicality of having these strips of cloth like this, like a loin cloth, or kind of draped over you like that. But it does it adds something. It's a nice little addition to it, and it doesn't hinder range of motion at all. Now here I have Storm Shadow V2. I went ahead and cut off a lot of that extra stuff because I just couldn't stand it. And so now he has this kind of waist pouch in the front. I added a little texture, some black plastic there, but kept the loincloth just to see what it looked like. But I quite like him a little better now. So I don't know why it was designed with all of that. If you haven't seen my video, Storm Shadow V2, check it out. Check out the playlist. So, all right, so splits. He has drop-down hips, and the splits goes about that far. So a little not as prominent as for Slice here, but he does kick forward that far. And he's got pretty good range of motion on the knees. And these are Kamakura's legs, if I'm not mistaken. Different knee joint and different boots, different feet as well, as far as I know. And kicks back pretty far. He does have the thigh swivel, which these thighs are not as loose as the one on Slice here, the right leg. And let's see. And the wrist, I didn't go over the wrist, so we have the wrists. And usual stuff, right? Usual stuff. So I kind of feel like this guy's got a little bit more going for it in terms of kind of design and everything. And I want to say, I think these legs are new, or these lower legs, the shins. So we got a boot swivel, and I don't think we've seen these before. They certainly don't seem like the front shin guard is some kind of like glued on, but got some red paint and some scaled design work there, and then these kind of curled feet, which kind of a blessing and a curse. It's almost like having a toe hinge, but he kind of flips forward a little bit when I try to pose him just without a stand. So the ankles are a little on the loose side, so when I have tried to put him in a running pose, he kind of that's the area of weakness right there, particularly on the left foot. It's a little on the loose side, but not too bad. But it's the same ankle marker stuff that we're used to. So yeah, that is Mr. Dice. I don't know what I would name these guys differently, but I don't know. It just seems like not the most original names for these guys, but they do look quite nice. I am quite pleased that I purchased these. And for those that haven't gotten yours yet, hang in there. You'll get them soon. I think you'll like it when you get it. Hopefully you won't have the problem with the right leg on your Slice figure that I'm having, or the ankles on the Dice figure that I'm having. So, but really good accessories, lots of posability. With the extra head sculpts and everything, you could buy 2 or 3 of these and have a lot of different ways of displaying and have your like a whole cadre of ninjas. And and kind of go wild with it. So yeah, I think there's some areas that need to be improved to kind of help improve the range of motion, which I'm feeling more and more confident in kind of my customization skills. So to kind of, you know, cut away material I don't think needs to be there, or add some paint or do something like that. But let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm going to give these guys a warp factor of 9. I think a lot of effort went into these. Um, some of it's, I don't think, some of the problems I'm having are not necessarily have anything to do with the design work. But the only thing design work I think is the shoulders over here on dice. But the looseness in some of the joints, that's just part of the manufacturing. So on a whole, I'm really pleased. I'm going to give, in the accessories and everything, I'm going to give this a set of 9. I think it's worthy of a set of 9, a warp factor of 9. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And I will talk at you guys next time.